Welcome back to Normal Island. I'm, of course, Curtis Daly, and I'm joined by Aidan, aka Goatmeal. Aidan, how
Hello,
are
how
we
are you?
tonight? It looks like you've
Very,
just,
very well, thank you.
honestly, it looks like you just burgled a house.
It feels like I have them just for it as well. No, this is the very it's my flatmate's like bookshelf, and it goes a very far away that way. So it's we've stolen all the books.
Okay, well, if someone accused you of stealing, you've got an alibi. You were on tonight's show,
I would never
and
steal.
you've been here for the last 2 hours, right?
Yeah, basically.
We got a good show, of course, for you. This is what we've got coming up on tonight's show. A poll has shown that Jeremy Corbyn is the most wanted Prime Minister over the Tories, Lib Dem, and Green leaders. Asylum seeker sentenced for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. And reform are targeting legal migration. Now, if you're not currently a subscriber, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Like this stream, as it does help with the algorithm. And of course, as always, we'll be getting to your comments at the end. But on to our first story of the evening. A new poll has put Jeremy Corbyn ahead of Kemi Badenoch, Ed Davey, and Zach Polansky as most wanted Prime Minister. Here you can see Nigel Farage on top with 24%, followed by Keir Starmer at 13%, and Jeremy third place on 9%. The poll by YouGov put Jeremy Corbyn first among 18 to 24-year-olds with 24%. Now, many of you will look at those numbers and be like, well, it's not really a ringing endorsement. But politicians are not popular in this country. It's very rare that you have them in the plus. It's not like the US where they're far more generous, with some politicians such as Bernie Sanders being widely popular. We are a far more cynical bunch. But I think it's significant because Jeremy is a figurehead of a party with no name, no structure, and obviously recently there have been some sort of public fallouts. But he's beating out the Conservatives' Kemi Badenoch. Now, in terms of Zach Polansky, I think he's only low in figures due to the fact that he's not well known. He's only just become leader, and I'm sure that will change. Nigel Farage has been leader of multiple political parties. He tried to be elected 8 times to Parliament, failing 7 times. Now he's favourite to be Prime Minister. Now, does that mean that Jeremy Corbyn is going to be Prime Minister? I mean, I don't think he's even planning to lead your party, so I doubt that. However, look, there are still people who are out there that support him and who will listen to him, meaning I think your party could have a real shot at picking up a sizable amount of seats come the next election. Aidan, what do you make of this poll? I mean, does this mean that centrism is finally well and truly buried?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's the call of the time, isn't it? Like, it's hard to be centrist about things when everything is so hugely fucked. We're kind of in that place now where people are picking their sides in a much bigger fight, and that's both good and bad because the world is very divided, and that makes it harder to get things done. But it does look like this poll is suggesting that people are planting their flag very firmly where they want to be. The problem we have on the left is that we are, of course, typically split between quite a few places, or quite a few spaces that people want to be, whereas on the right, they're pretty firmly just got reform. So it's the age. Though things feel different with new parties, it's the same as ever, where the left can't agree and the right have one flag to get behind, and so therefore they stand some kind of good chance.
I mean, do you think that like 9% isn't particularly high for Jeremy Corbyn,
Mm.
but it's based on plus and minus? Do you think that will grow though? So let's say, I mean, we'll talk about the the splits with your party or the latest developments in a minute. But let's say he gets the conference and things go well. Jeremy Corbyn is a big figurehead of this party. Can you see that 9% rising? Because I personally think the numbers aren't high, but even Nigel Farage only 24%. Again, politicians not popular, but I think the fact that he's third place over Kemi Badenoch, right? She was elected as leader. She's been leader for a long time now. He's above her. Ed Davey again. He led the Lib Dems to the last general election. Do you think he could go higher?
There's a chance he could go higher, but I also think it's that thing with the left and with him. It's like the left are a bit less forgiving on errors and mistakes than the right are. So I think he can grow and people can be swayed by him because he is a persuasive man and he says what he stands for and everything we can all kind of agree with. But I do think there's an element of of tiredness towards how people maybe feel towards him, and that might be his limit, where he's getting to a stage of just, oh yeah, Jeremy again, another thing, another drama. Look, we've seen recently, like it's getting to the point where it's like, is his legacy a help or a hindrance? And I think we'll see it as a help, but I worry it'll hit a ceiling.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at this poll, I don't know when it was commissioned. This could have been done before the public spat, shall we say? I think that one, I think it's significant that everything that's going on, he's still polling third. But what is the fallout from a pretty bad week between Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana? Maybe this poll came out just before. We might see another poll where he goes, fifth, because people are actually, I don't know if I want him as Prime Minister at the moment because we're not sure what's going on with your party. Now, I spoke about this earlier, but since then there have been developments. Jeremy Corbyn released a video saying this is a new membership portal, which a week ago Zara released one. Now we've got Jeremy doing one. For a while, Zara Sultana had said nothing, but now, she's retweeted the video, and now she's come out and said, go sign up and stuff. It was a very short tweet, and it was very, very quiet. There wasn't sort of a joint statement. There wasn't a video of them together. I suppose, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's kind of hard to know where to land on it because you don't know how it's going to be received. I mean, if we can see that Zara and him have made some kind of amends and it's been organized behind the scenes and they can actually approach us with some kind of real forward-facing, aligned belief and thing to get behind, then maybe it's fine, and maybe that was just a public spat, and that happens in political organizations. But it does have very big words were said, and Zara did not pull any punches in what she said about the boys' club of the party, and you can get the sense that there is some truth in that, and Corbyn now seems to have backtracked a little bit on what he was saying. So maybe he has just got hot. Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe there'll be a way of them coming together. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a wait and see because, we were very excited about your party when it first came along. They still can't decide a name, whatever. I don't know. It's still quite messy. It's the problem, right?
Yeah, messy is a good way of putting it, but I suppose we can't really tell until the conference happens. I do wonder though if it's maybe just us on the left are paying lots of attention to it. Maybe to the wider public it's not a big deal, but again, I do agree it does remain to be seen. Let's part that story there and move on. Let's go on to our second story. The asylum seeker Hadush Kabatu, who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl and who stayed at the Epping Hotel, has been sentenced to 12 months in jail. The Ethiopian national was found guilty of 2 counts of sexual assault, attempted sexual assault, inciting a girl to engage in sexual activity, and harassment without violence earlier this month. It is understood the Home Office will seek to deport Kabatu following his prison sentence. Kabatu's lawyer, Molly Dias, told Chelmsford Magistrates Court on Tuesday he wanted to be deported, calling it his firm wish and a view he held before the trial. Now, his deportation will be likely, as one of the guidelines for deporting criminals is a minimum of 12 months in jail. It is believed that it is believed that he poses a risk to offend again. The prosecutor, Stuart Cohen, said, Kabatu understood that Epping is in chaos because of what he did and that he had got a lot of migrants in trouble, Mr. Cohen said. He added that the asylum seeker felt very sad and felt a lot of remorse, but added the word manipulative is used within the report. So yes, this despicable person has contributed to fanning the flames of anti-refugee and migrant sentiment. His actions have helped cause anger towards the migrant community. However, he's not the sole reason, and people should recognise this isn't representative of those who come here. But as we all know, it's political agitators who are pretending to care about sexual assault and young women to further their political aims. That includes, of course, the far right. Now, we cannot allow the far right to have a monopoly on being against violence towards women. So it's important we talk about this because we can offer a perspective that isn't anti-refugee or anti-asylum seekers. The big problem in society is violence against women. That is an endemic of a deeply sexist society the world over. And some of the loudest voices on refugee and migrant crime are the same people who contribute to misogynistic culture. Tommy Robinson is an example of this. Right-wing commentator Laura Southern recently called him out after he downplayed Lauren's claim that she was raped by Andrew Tate.
She went back out to Romania to see him again. I know she went back out to see him. She went back out to see him. She goes back out to see him. She flew back out to see him.
You see, the only problem with that little tale, Tommy, is you took the story too far. If you just kept it to kind of things that couldn't really be proven, you might have gotten away with it too. But I happen to have travel documents that directly disprove this claim, 100%. I went once to Romania with you, one entry, one exit, in 2018 when you took me to a business meeting to meet your pimp friend. And here's the thing, Tommy, I don't even think you could give a date when I went back. I don't think you could even give a ballpark. Not least of all because you just made it up, but also because you would trip over another lie, another location I was at. Seriously, if you are a follower of Tommy's and you believe his version of events and the things that he's saying about me, ask him. Say, Tommy, hey, when did Lauren go back to Romania? Ballpark, not even exact day. Don't need that. Week, month even. He won't be able to give you an answer because he lied. And every single thing he has said in the past few months, I guess it's been years now, about me, has been to cover his own ass and to cover for his sex trafficker friend. Because this is serious. It's not just about us. There are 40 plus victims, known victims, women and girls, British women and minors, the very people you claim to protect. This isn't just about our egos or our reputations. This is a much bigger case than that. You are being lied to by people who are stealing your money, defending sex traffickers and covering up their crimes, and who have very different missions privately than what they are telling you their missions are publicly. And there are a lot of people at the forefront of this political world who are just using you. And I see so many people walking into it just without questioning, oh, they're not the mainstream media, so these people would never lie to me. What do you mean? You got $30,000 from the Tate brothers, which is really curious. The only ones who seemingly are getting any money for any of this conversation are the ones supporting the sex traffickers.
So there she claims he lied about her going back to Romania. The implication here is that, well, she couldn't have been raped because she went back. Not only does that not disprove rape, as Laura pointed out, she never went back. But it's really important that we talk about these grifters who don't care about sexual violence. They just care about being cruel to refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants. If we don't talk about this, that narrative where the left, the Labour parties, Liberals care more about foreign criminals than the British people, which is obviously absurd, that myth will become more and more prevalent. Aidan, do you think that Liberals and the left have allowed themselves to be drowned out by far-right voices who are weaponizing this to push their anti-refugee agenda?
Yeah, I think pretty significantly so as well. Like the liberal left kind of people in power that are there, the neoliberal types, they're always afraid to do anything, and so they don't make a statement. They don't put a line in the sand. They kind of softball and barely handle anything that actually happens ever, and so therefore they are caught with their trousers down, caught on the fence, unable to make decisions. But it's a little bit like you could do with anything, like nationalism, being proud of the flag, being proud of anything in this country, doing anything in this country. They are always second to it. They never get there first. And the right then ends up having this control, this monopoly over the story. And so it's almost like you have to make them do things, but they're so anti-doing things that this is the natural thing that happens. And so that what we have to do as left-wing kind of commentators and stuff is hold that flag up and be there and say that we will not allow this to happen, and be in defense of women, really, rather than claiming to be and letting the right wing run the lie that no one else is and only they are. It's just frustrating to see, because they so clearly aren't. They so clearly aren't what they pretend to be.
I mean, do you think it's important to speak up about this more? I mean, I can see why some people are hesitant, because they don't want to contribute to the anti-refugee narrative. But if we don't, do you think this will ultimately just give more power to the far right? Or if we do you think this actually would amplify certain crimes by certain people?
I think the problem is where there's no information, there's disinformation, right? And so what we need to be doing is taking control of the discussion as best as we can to stop the lies from spreading, to stop the aggression and the violence. Because the riots, the race riots, the hate riots that happened early I don't know when, this year, I think earlier, they're always happening. That happened in Epping or in all these places up north where the migrants' hotels are, happened because there was a lack of information, because no one on the left in the government in power decided to let people know what was going on and the real truth behind things. And so we have a duty to be there to talk about these things correctly to stop this from happening. Like one case of someone who is an asylum seeker or a migrant doing something and controlling the story to say it is one case. And in this community where this has happened, here are the million ways in which everyone is integrating and taking part in community and being a normal, wonderful person. That's how you control the narrative, rather than saying nothing and letting the right control the narrative and spin these lies, which if the left and the liberals and people like us were able to do their job and really get control of the story, I think it would be softened. It would be the racists and the aggressors would still be there, but at least there'd be some kind of objective truth getting out to people rather than silence and then aggression.
I mean, I can see some may say, well, right now you're doing that because you're amplifying a particular story. If you're going to speak about this crime, then you'd have to talk about all the other assaults committed by white British people. And they might say, why pick this one example just because the far right are talking about it? But look, I decided to talk about this because the far right, and specifically Tommy Robinson, do not care about young girls. Right? As you saw for yourself in the video I played earlier, right? Yet they have been all over this and are all over Epping. So I think it's our duty to speak about this and put it in all of its context. I do like what you were saying there. In absence of us talking about it, misinformation rules the day.
Precisely. It's that thing of like it's uncomfortable conversations that are happening whether we're there or not. So we kind of don't have a choice but to be involved and to try and this is almost how you then radicalize these people to the left and make them understand, is that you say, yeah, sure, this horrific incident has happened, but let's look at the underlying reasons as to really why. Oh, they're bad because they're from a different place. They did this horrible crime because they're from somewhere different. Or is it because we have a misogynistic society that doesn't treat women correctly? Look at Tommy Robinson. Look at all of the chants that were happening at the horrible rally that was the other week. Look at the ways these people behave. Look at the statistics. This is the underlying issue. It's a patriarchy issue. And then you start to get people to be educated and go, it's not just because someone looks different than you. It is entirely because of the way that the society tells men they can behave towards women. And then you create a better discussion that removes away from it ever being about because they're an asylum seeker. And I think that's a better way to get them to understand the worldview, or at least people that are in the middle to understand our worldview.
Yeah. 100% right. It is a patriarchy issue. It's rape culture. You know, obviously the right wing will specifically say it's people from different countries or different ethnic backgrounds or ethnicity. But ultimately, every single society, every single country has a problem with women. I mean, if you look at Hugh Edwards, for example, you know, he literally had child exploitation material. Sexual exploitation material. He didn't even face jail time, right? We have a problem with predatory men. That is just
100%.
the facts, right? But of course, the right wing are trying to make it about race and religion. It's not, right? It is 100% the patriarchy. But no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. But let's leave it there and go on to our final story of the evening. Now, Reform are targeting legal migration. Nigel Farage is now targeting people who are legally living here. Nigel Farage has pledged to abolish the main route for immigrants to gain British citizenship, threatening tens of thousands of people legally living in the UK with deportation unless they meet strict rules. Unveiling his plans, Farage said 800,000 people who tend to be young, tend to be low-skilled, were due to qualify for indefinite leave to remain in the UK over the next 3 to 4 years. He said this group were going to be a huge burden on the state, that Britain was not the world's food bank, and that it was not for us to provide welfare for people coming in from all over the world. Farage said he would entirely abolish indefinite leave to remain, which is open to people who have worked and lived in the UK legally for 5 continuous years and their dependents. After a minimum of a year on that status, people can apply for British citizenship, though each stage comes with considerable fees. Now, there's already some holes there. I mean, he claims that these people are a burden on the state, which, by the way, that kind of language is really messed up. Most immigrants are students. They're currently paying far higher student fees than British people, and they're currently keeping universities afloat. There's also the fact that immigrants have to pay a lot of money to get visas and citizenship. So that contradicts the claim that these people are burdens on the state. They are paying in, not taking out. It's also not a well thought out policy. Farage claimed the policy would save $234 billion, a figure sourced from a Centre for Policy Studies report that has been withdrawn because of a dispute over the numbers. The think tank said its figures should not be used. Now, I can tell you this. It won't save us money. It will cost us money. Immigrants put more in the tax system than they take out, and actually leads to less borrowing and debt, according to the OBR. This will, of course, affect businesses as these people will have jobs, and it will affect services as some people will be working in the public sector. This will also split up families. This clip of Farage on LBC is revealing.
The point about those on indefinite leave to remain now is, we want people to have work visas. We want people here who work and pay taxes. And if they do, that's fine. But we do not want people coming in, slipping through this 5-year system, and frankly becoming a burden on the country. And if you look at the state of our public finances, you'll understand why we say this.
Let's have a quick response from Marie. Marie, quick response if you would.
You haven't really addressed my question. I don't work outside the home. So my question was, what happens to me? Are my children and husband are asking, is there a chance you could get deported? And I said, no, obviously not. No. So what are the specifics? Let's get to
if you have lived in the country on ILR and you have not worked and not paid into the system, you're going to be told, look, your benefits are being cut. We're not going to go on paying you benefits forever. It might be better if you return to your home country.
So would that include the Ukrainians and Hong Kongers?
No, because they come for different reasons.
Right, and people from Afghanistan?
Well, I think that's a slightly different category, but it depends who they are.
Now, notice what he said at the end there. It depends on who they are. It depends on the person. So it will be up to the Reform government who stays. Now, is it out of the realm of possibility that some people inside Reform's government may prefer to keep white immigrants over black and brown people? I mean, look at how he balked at Ukrainian immigrants and refugees. Oh, of course not, of course not. Got to remember here, guys, Nigel Farage was a National Front supporter when he was young. We have to understand that was never just about illegal immigration. The point was to move the Overton window. Now that the right have successfully moved the dial, Reform are going after people who have lived here their entire lives. They're legally here and want to deport people of their choosing. It was always this plan. It was never about illegal immigration, which, by the way, it's actually irregular migration. Now, we've moved from, as long as you come here and work hard and, pay taxes, to this cruel, indefensible policy in a very short time. And by the way, when he says, well, actually, we're going to cut people's benefits, 9 times out of 10, those that are claiming benefits are British people. This isn't about cost, by the way. They do not care about cost. It is about being cruel. Now, as I said before, the right-wing establishment, Reform, GB News, whoever, started the conversation that, oh no, it's just about illegal immigration. You crazy lefties, I mean, you're against illegal immigration? Again, some of us on the left want to change the conversation between illegal and irregular migration, okay? But we know full well it was never about that. And look, to me, as a leftist, right, I'm not particularly offended when a government says we need to sort out illegal immigration, we need to control our borders. I disagree but I'm not going, oh my God, that's fascism. The reason why I call it out is because I know that's not where it ends. That is the beginning. Again, Nigel Farage was a member or a supporter of the National Front when he was younger, right? We've very quickly gone from, it's just about the illegals, man. That's all it is, to actually, you may have been here your entire life. You may paid taxes. You may have paid more into the system. You may have family here, but you've got to go. That is the most important point I want to make. Aidan, do you think that this move from reform has gone too far in the eyes of the public?
That is a great question, because I made a point in a video I made yesterday, I think, I don't know, but about how I don't think he even will do this, because he's talking like we're America and we're this huge populous country that's very spread out and people don't know each other. We're not that big of a country. Our communities have people that are not from here embedded in them. So you could say pretty easily that most people know someone who has benefited from indefinite leave to remain. So I think he is jumping the gun significantly by thinking he can get people on board by copying that Trumpish rhetoric. I think 90% of people, when they hear that, will go, whoa, my neighbor who's from the south of France and lived here for 20 years, whose husband or wife lives with them, and they've got 4 kids and they're friends of my kid, they're not going to think that they're the problem, because they're not. Most people that are anti-immigrant, liking reform, are purely doing it based off of race. They're doing it off of people being from the Middle East or from Africa or anywhere like that, because they don't like them, because they look different. That's the brass tacks of it. Farage going after what would be a lot of European immigrants who live here and have lived here for 30 years is so miscalculated. I think he's misjudged it. And I don't think he's even brave enough to actually try and do it, purely from the economical damage it would do. I think he's puts a front on. The amphibious man himself puts a front on. He buffs his throat out and he says, I hate immigrants, but he's not dumb enough to make that economic decision. I wonder what you think about that, because I think he's saying it, but I don't know if he means it.
Oh, I do not believe they're going to do it. Not through maybe lack of will. And obviously when he mentioned at Reform Conference, they were going to try and get rid of 600,000 people. You can't do it. And the reason why you can't do it, and it's because the right wing are not honest, by the way. It's funny, actually. The right wing often say, we can't have an honest debate about immigration. We don't have an honest debate about immigration for 2 things. One, right, if we were to reduce immigration to the level these people want, which is funny because it's undefined, it's subjective. Some people think it should be half. Some people think it should be net zero. Some people think it should be, 1 in, 10 out, right? You can never satisfy someone because you're not unified on it. Taxes will have to go up if you do this, because we have an aging population. Our social care is struggling, and we quite literally rely on immigration for this. Secondly, if you want to have the kind of society that the right wing want, which is very low levels of immigration or net zero, you would have to see the level of investment this country's ever seen. Forget 1945 and Clement Attlee with the NHS, the welfare state, and council housing. My God, quadruple that, right? Maybe more. You have to spend an unbelievable amount of money to keep public services afloat, but also to train our own. Now, people on the left have never been against training our own, whatever that means. I would say if you're born here, right? No one's against that. What we're saying is, though, you can't just do that overnight. The kinds of changes you want to see if you want to see immigration really low is, first of all, it's generational. You're going to have to wait 10, 20, 30 years because, first of all, you're going to have to invest in education. Then you're going to have to get people to go to university. Maybe we should scrap university tuition fees so we don't saddle nurses and doctors with debts. And then you've got to provide the pathway to those people who want to get a job. And it's not very enticing at the moment with the long hours and pay. So essentially, you have to be a real big socialist when it comes to spending to bring down immigration. Now, for me, I don't. It's not my politics to bring down immigration. But if we want to have an honest conversation about immigration with these people, you're going to have to at least, not socially, but economically, turn these people into socialists. You mean we're talking about raising taxes on the wealthy, and spending a huge sum of money?
This is the thing, but that would all be in order to keep the country afloat. They have no interest in doing that. They're very much aiming to divide and conquer and privatize and monopolize and make a whole bag of money whilst they do it. That is their goal. I just don't think that they are capable of getting to that stage. They're all good at swinging the sledgehammer, but Brexit is a prime example of this. They can destroy things. They can't fucking build them. They don't know how to do the next step. They know how to get the votes and get people to be angry for a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years. But 10, 20, 30-year plans, they do not have the capabilities to do it because no, they are not the men they idolize as Farage so clearly does, being his teenage years waltzing around his private school singing Nazi theme tunes. He's quite literally not the man he thinks he is. You're not that guy, pal. He thinks he's Trump and he is a Poundland version of it.
Yeah, that's also true. I also think as well, there's not because obviously it's not just the far right that talk about immigration. That's been spoken about across the board, from the centre left to conservatives. Right? It's very funny. I saw I think it was a Labour MP who said finally the Labour Party's talking about immigration, as if they haven't spoken about immigration for the last 50 years. Right? It's always on the agenda. But what I love from conservative politicians who say we need to bring down immigration is they won't end global capitalism. And you cannot have... Look, we live in a globalist society, right? And the problem isn't globalism, it's the kind of globalism we have. For some people, the globalism is, blame Jewish people, right? That's the conspiracy theory, right? I have a problem with global capitalism. But you're going to have freedom of movement, or you're going to have high amounts of immigration to many different countries because we have a global capitalist system. And it's funny because these people are massive capitalists, but they also want immigration to come down. You have to fundamentally change the economic system and the economic world order in order to get the results you want. Now, for me, I want to change the economic world order. I want to see the end of capitalism, but also I don't really care about immigration in terms of it going up or down. I want immigration just to reflect what we need. I'm not ideological about whether it needs to go up or down. But the right, who want to keep capitalism, are ideological in immigration. Plus, they also love war, so that creates more refugees. And they downplay climate change, which, by the way, we're going to have millions of climate refugees. You're absolutely right. These people don't have a coherent worldview. For Brexit, for example, immigration went up after Brexit.
Yeah, which we all knew it would as well. And that's exactly it. Every right-wing ideological standpoint falls apart if you go, and then what? Because it's that thing of like, it's if you want, like it's so true what you're saying about like world capitalist order requires the movement of workers into concentrated areas so they can all work in the powerhouses of industry, whatever can happen there, and everywhere else becomes broke because capitalism requires winners and losers, and eventually there's only one winner. So whether it's China, whether it's with their system, whether it's America, whether it's some other like what is considered non-developed country but that will skyrocket when they go super capitalist, whatever they think is going to happen, you're going to require moving everybody into this place. But at the same time, they don't like it. So that's why I think we're in this kind of spiral of things just staying the same, because the capitalists refuse to budge and accept that, like, to grow anymore, we have to allow kind of foreigners to move into these countries in order to satiate the workload. And it's like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the capitalists have made their bed in disliking immigrants, but they require them for their work. And it's a mind melt. It's so insane to try and understand their worldview, which is why I think Farage is tying himself in knots trying to like explain why indefinite leave to remain is bad, because it can't be. There's no downside to it for us.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think it's I forgot my point, but I don't think I can probably beat what you said there. But it's true that the right wing don't have a long-term political project. It's just about winning votes and getting into power. They haven't thought about this, which is very, very ironic. Let's leave that there and let's go to our comment section. Let's go to Sarah Daly, the producer for tonight. How are you doing?
Hey, hello everyone. Yes, this is I. Yeah, really great show. Like, honestly, great analysis from the both of you. I'm just always so bloody impressed. Let's go to super chats. So Andrina gave 510.
Yes, Andrina. We've
Thank
seen
you so
you a
much.
couple of times in the
yes.
shows. We're loving it.
We have, so it's good to see you. Tic Tac gifted £2 since Bex
Yes,
has broke
Tic
this
Tac.
month, which is so sweet. Specs, we see you. We love you. Put yourself first. And then Curious Girl Emma said the patriarchy will never look at how most essay is by men known to the women. So we can start off with that one. And I think it's a true fact. Like, more often than not, perpetrators tend to be known to their victims, but no one ever wants to speak about that. And I recently did a video on TikTok just kind of looking at obviously there's a lot of talk and there were lots of protests around the Epping Hotel and this asylum seeker who committed obviously a really heinous crime, but I see zero outrage when it comes to any sort of violence that happens up and down the country to women and girls who don't get a media headline. And I'm just so convinced that women and girls are such a footnote in people's stories, that they are used and weaponized to assert political agendas, or used and weaponized to kind of confirm their biases about the quote unquote other. And that, I think, is a tiresome position to be in all the time. So yeah, sorry about my rant. Anyways, let's stick to that story. Actually, before we stick to that story, someone said something about you, Aidan.
Oh,
they said you're shit. No, I'm joking.
They're not wrong.
We're not having any goat bashing here.
No, I'm joking. They said goat meat has blue pools for eyes in it.
Oh,
it's
that's
true.
very nice.
Wonderful eyes.
Thank you.
Kindly.
But sticking to that story, though, I think everyone was kind of in agreement that it's a male patriarchy problem. And Becca said that it's only guilty men who want to silence women talking. And it's true. It's the ones that don't hold other men accountable or want to hold a justice system accountable that doesn't actually have many perpetrators that get held to account. Like, I don't know what the actual statistic is. I'm sure people can enlighten me, and I wish I did. But the number of rape cases that go to court are actually slim to none, and then sexual assault cases are also slim to none too. And they wonder why victims don't come forward, and it's because the system enables this violence by not believing victims. Okay, so sorry, let's just start from... There were some really interesting comments today, but let's go with Corbyn. Michael says, sadly, I'm off Corbyn with his obvious power play now, announcing membership. How do you guys feel? I mean, I know you're not allowed to really endorse anyone, really. Are you on this show? I'm not sure.
I'm sure you can, yeah.
I mean, how do you guys feel about Corbyn at the moment? I can give my opinion, but you guys go ahead.
I was going to let you go first, yeah.
Oh, okay, after you.
Sorry,
you go first.
Don't go all at once. Bloody hell, I'm a bit overwhelmed.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of information I want to know about. So, with this announcement, there's many questions. So, what's happening with the existing membership? Is this now going to be integrated? Do you have two memberships? Are you paying twice? Those sorts of questions I want answered. I've seen a couple of posts that say we were looking to migrate it. But then I would think, if you're just going to migrate it, why not keep the old membership under Zara Sultana and just say, look, she was a bit out of whack, but we're going to continue with it. My personal belief is both Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn want a mass democratic party. But I think there are forces behind the scenes who don't want that. And I'm basing this off really like whispers and Twitter. So I could be completely wrong. But I've seen people say it. So I think that there are questions going into the conference. What I am encouraged about, and what I really did like from Jeremy Corbyn in this video, was that us independent Alliance MPs are not here to control the party. We're not here to lead the party. We are here to start the conference, and then you'll elect a leader. So at the end of the day, I don't think tensions are ever going to go away. That happens. But factionalism could be ironed out if there's a democratic party, because it doesn't matter what people's views are. You go with the membership, right? And if Zara puts her out in the ring, she becomes leader, it was democratically elected. So, I don't have a side. I'm not like Team Zara, Team Jeremy, because I think this entire kerfuffle, it has blame on both sides, right? No one's covered themselves in grace. There's been some really dumb decisions, which makes the left look bad. And everyone should be like, do you know what? We all fucked up at this.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there as well. I think I'm slightly more, annoyed with Corbyn than you might be, just simply because I just sometimes you get I have a sense about it where I'm just like, I just feel like this is the first show of like maybe something that won't repeat. But the truth is, we just don't know. I have a gut feeling about it, but that is just that. I'm basing it off of not a lot. It's more just like, it's just that thing with Corbyn where it's like, is this going to be another one of those things where it's very much his personality gets in the way of like genuine progress? It's as I said before, it's kind of wait and see. But what do you think, Sarah? I don't know if
I
I'm
mean,
hitting
I'm
the mark
annoyed
at
with
all.
Corbyn. Like, I actually agree. That was actually going to be my take, and I don't know if that's a controversial one. I'm just kind of sick and tired of, and we were kind of speaking about this before, but kind of sick and tired of all of this like back and forth and but he said it was going to be, and now no, that it hasn't been confirmed, and this hasn't been, and this has been deleted, and it's just like I just feel like there's no grit. And like he was supposed to be this person that we all see, and I still believe like he is this beacon of light, like this hope and this voice for all of us that we in the things that we believe in. But it's so hard to kind of have faith in someone who it is so wishy-washy, it feels, and like slightly disorganized, when you can't afford to be disorganized in a time that's so critical. And like Edward kind of said it, and I kind of been in so many conversations that have echoed the same thing, that your party is cooked, Corbyn is the past. And now I'm beginning to think, is he? Like maybe he is. I feel like when he teamed up with Zara, like Zara was going to be like this voice as well that would kind of amplify Corbyn's, because Zara is very connected to young people, very connected on social media. Like she is this kind of the vessel that we need to really make, punch through. But now it's kind of like Curtis said, and I agree with this, that there's faults on both sides. And now I really do feel like this faction in your party is almost not going to come out.
Obviously everyone's entitled to their view, and most people have been pretty good about it. I have been a bit frustrated on Twitter when people have been really aggressively one side or the other. I've seen people say that Zara Sultana is silly, stupid, this and that, which I think there's probably a bit of sexism in there. And then people on the other side, like Jeremy Corbyn's, can't even repeat some of the words. And I'm just like, look, at the end of the day, don't have idols, right? They're politicians, but you also don't need to be so angry with them. At the end of the day, what matters is having a Democratic Party. What I think really does need to be taken seriously is Zara Sultana's allegations of sexism. I believe her, as we should believe women. And I think some of the responses to Zara's claims have been really, really bad. Have been saying that she's smearing the other side for saying it's a sexist boys' club. Are you really going to downplay it? I mean, where in what industry do you think that like a sexist boys' club is going to most occur? Right, banking probably, and fucking politics. Like that's a real issue when it comes to minority voices. So I really do not respect those who have downplayed Zara's, bold. Like it's bold to say it, and I don't like that. But again, that's also Twitter speak. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to judge when conference happens. If a Democratic Party is not delivered, then we can be like, do you know what? Fuck this, fuck that, because that's what was promised. If a Democratic Party is delivered, I don't really care about the drama. I care about building a mass party that can work with the Green Party, that can work with Zach Plansky to, at the very least, move the Overton window back to the left. If that's all we get, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I agree with that. We'll wait and see. I feel like I've been waiting and seeing for God knows how long. Right, let's go to the final story, because that's caused quite a lot of a lot of comments came through about that. A lot of people saying that they're an immigrant and that they've had their citizenship for 4 years and they've lived here for 10 years. So I feel like this is kind of representative of how so many people feel. Like they are so scared. Like that with the popularity that Farage has at the moment, if he ever did, become prime minister, would something like this ever happen? I don't think it's likely he could implement it. And I agreed with what you said, Aidan. He knows that this would impact the economy in ways that are insane. Like so economically, like trying to just shoot yourself in the foot. Like it's ridiculous. He loves people who come into the country because they contribute so much to the economy. He knows it. He's a grifter. So I do think it's an empty threat, but it's how many people he emboldens with these like claims that he's making, because lots of people I think do just want to get rid of black and brown people. That kind of helps. The rhetoric helps that. Okay, this one I think you highlighted, Curtis. Where is it? This one. Why do leftists defend right-wing Islamism? I did roll my eyes. I'm not taking it. You take it, Curtis.
Well, I specifically highlighted that one because, and I'm going to treat this as a serious comment, okay? Because I do think a lot of people think that. So I'm not going to sit here and take the piss. So I'm not a spokesperson for the left, by the way. I am a leftist. I can speak for myself, but I think I have a good grasp of what other comrades think. And the left are not pro-Islam. The left are anti-blaming things on Muslims. We stand up for minorities. So if we feel like someone's being bigoted to Muslims or painting or generalizing Muslims, right, we defend that. But we're not pro-Islam. In fact, the left are usually the ones who are more agnostic or atheist, right? If you're an atheist, you're actually more likely to be on the left. I'm an atheist. And we have been the ones who are mostly skeptical about organized religion. So it's also funny because a lot of people on the right, and maybe not just the right, but a lot of people think that Islam is left-wing too. So, for example, when David Amos was murdered by the Islamic extremist or Islamist extremist terrorist, right? People try to say it was left-wing violence, and it's like, no, it's not true. It's right-wing violence because just like Christianity, Islam is an old conservative doctrine, right? It's conservative. Now, of course, with every religion and every scripture, you'll find good passages, bad passages. You'll find some actually quite progressive passages and some ultra-conservative. You'll find peaceful and violent ones, right? But you know, it was the same as Christianity, where it was written a long, long time ago. It is not a progressive or left-wing ideology, but people conflate that because we stand up for Muslims, because we say, just like Christians, majority of Christians are decent, law-abiding people, and then you get your crazy people like the Westboro Baptist Church. You get your Nick Tenconi, the leader of UKIP, right, who wants to do a crusade. You get people who want to go back to the crusades, right, but they're not the majority of them. Just like Muslims, you will get those that kill David Amos. You get ISIS, but the majority of Muslims are just like the majority of Christians, good people. And that is where there's a big conflation, right? Islamism is not right-wing, it's right-wing conservatism, just like Christianity and many other 1,000-year-old doctrines. And that's it. There's a difference between religion and standing up for people on the, on the bad end of racism or bigotry. That's it.
That was well
100%.
said.
No, 100%. I just want to quickly add to that as well. It's like the point you made about how the left are like critical of religion in general is something that I think the right are incapable of understanding because they stand behind their crosses and this idea of Jesus and stuff, which is so faux. It's insulting. Because it's like, no, I have critiques of the religions. Which is why I defend them, because I want to take on the ideas, not the people. Okay, the people are not the issue. There are millions and millions of religious people that are wonderful and do great community work. It's not them I have an issue with, but the doctrine of the religion I have an issue with. And I think that's something that the right refuse to engage with as a debate. And it's almost because it's simple for them to just ignore the point.
I also think as well that the right wing, the institutional right, and the politicians, they just want to say, oh, my religion's better than your religion. Like, they're so Islamophobic because they want to believe in their religion, where the left is like, historically and today, is you can believe in what the hell you want, but we believe in a separation between church and states. We should not be governed by religion. It should not be a theocracy. We should be governed by consensus in a democratic way.
Exactly.
And the reason why you do see a lot of hatred towards Muslims and as sort of Islamophobia from the right wing is not because they're against the conservative elements within the doctrine, because they have their own conservative elements. It's because they prefer their religion over others, and they want this to be an ethno-nationalist or Christian nationalist state. In America, I mean, they're basically a theocracy. They rule by the Bible.
Yeah.
That's what they want. Whereas the left is like, no, don't rule by any Bible or any scripture. Rule by the democratic will of the people, whilst also saying you can believe in what you want. It's freedom. Is freedom of religion and freedom from religion. That is what, ironically, the founding fathers believe, which the conservatives love the founding fathers, don't they? Until they disagree with everything the founding fathers stood for.
Yeah,
But I'm not saying they're good people all the way. The founding fathers had slaves. I'm just simply saying that they were the birth of the modern secular U.S. states. And
Didn't plan on saying that at the start of the show, did you?
Yeah, you've been caught. No,
I
I
have to drop that in there.
Yeah, I completely agree though. I feel like people can't discern the difference between the left not wanting to defend Islamism. I even hate that term. It's so weird. But and then defending like Muslims from being demonized and like surveyed all the time and like criminalized simply just for existing. Like and we also need to realize, I'm having so many conversations about this really recently on TikTok, which is just some cesspit, honestly. I've taken a massive break somewhat. But people saying like, well, you know, these Muslims are coming here and they're doing this, that and the other, and we need to just get rid of them. And I'm like, do you know who actually, like, when 9/11 happened, who got attacked after? It was Sikh people. Sikh people getting attacked because people can't even discern the difference between what a Muslim looks like and a Sikh person because they're racializing them. And that's what I'm trying to like get people to understand, that there is a racialization of Muslims because they assume that they're all just predominantly Asian and that they just, you know, come from that region of the world. But in fact, like you said, Kurt, it's like left movements have historically been the strongest critics of just religious fundamentalism and like religious like authoritarianism. But I also think we need to call out the double standards that happen from the UK and the US, particularly when they're funding and arming these groups that exist over there for decades when it suited them. Like but anyway, that's a whole kettle of fish we don't even have to get into. But we know the relations between the UK and US and Saudi, and I think that that's something that we can discuss at length another day. But I don't know, when they try and sneer that the left are defending quote unquote Islamists, I think what they really mean is that we won't join their racist agenda or project of treating 2 billion Muslims as a civilizational threat. And I refuse to do that because they aren't a civilizational threat. The biggest threat to our society is obviously the super, super rich, but also these governments, I think they can scapegoat black and brown people. Like, fuck them. Anyway. It's only Wednesday, guys. Let's just try and get to the end of the week. But I think just kind of, it was also the same sort of comment, but it's second to last one. I have indefinite leave to remain. I've worked and paid tax in the UK for nearly 15 years. Indefinite leave to remain provides stability for me and my family. It's pure cruelty to retrospectively remove that from me. And it's true. And then Rachel said, so Farage wants to send Afghan refugees to be tortured by the Taliban, and Trump wants to reinvade Taliban-run Afghanistan. Yes. Literally.
Well, again,
Anyway.
it's the you cannot be pro-war and anti-refugee. That's not a coherent position. You've got to be someone who says, look, I don't want more refugees coming, so I'm not going to support Trump or whoever bombing these countries and reinvading Afghanistan. It's not a coherent position. Likewise, if you don't want millions of climate refugees, where we're going to be in a situation where people are going to be fighting over water, maybe let's do something about climate change and take on the oil industry, which, again, the right wing do not want to do. I also think as well, what really angers me when people say about the indefinite leave to remain, they say, well, you've lived here for 40 years, why didn't you claim citizenship? And that really pisses me off. One, because there are costs incurred to get citizenship. Also, 9 times out of 10, people will fail the test. I will fail the test. Everyone will fail the test because it's really, really hard. Most British people would fail the test. But also, the point of indefinite leave to remain is like, you're here forever now. You shouldn't have to be in a culture of fear. And now they're turning around saying, well, we're going to get rid of you. And you should have foreseen we were going to do this. So you should have got your citizenship 10 years ago, even though you believe you were safe. Like what? Your mind readers, you could have seen the future?
Yeah, even though 10 years ago we were in the EU.
Yeah.
But that's it for the comments. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the comments. But of course, that is all we have time for. Thank you to... 2 seconds. You okay? No. I'm currently munching on a comment at the moment.
Oh my god, it's not coming off. Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much.
We're back. Yeah, thank you to all of viewers who tuned in. And of course, thank you, Aidan, for joining me just after you seemingly burgled a house.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I will go and count my winnings. It's not winnings, things I've taken, whatever.
I'll keep it quiet if you share it with me, although I've just realised that we've done this on the live, so I've already outed you. Apologies to that.
Whoops. No, thank you for having me. It was great.
But again, thank you, Aidan, so much. And please remember to like the stream And if you're not a subscriber, hit that button. If you want us to grow, then you can head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There is a link to our Patreon where you can support us monthly or follow the other link to give us a one-time contribution. Alternatively, you can become a YouTube member for just 99p. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on Friday.